Hello, welcome to Radio Bravery Live. I'm your host, Justin Belshaw. It is May 6th, the day of the French presidential election. We are live at youtube.com/Radio Bravery. You can also find me at facebook.com/Radio Bravery. And we've got Rage Against the Machine bringing us in with the same sentimentality of the French people. We need to take the power back. This is Rage Against the Machine with a very, very important message to all the lemmings out there who think that Macron might do something for you because he's a young, independent, Mac Daddy, long-legged liar like Obama. And that's why Obama endorsed him, and that's why Hillary endorses him, and that's why the globalists endorse that douchebag, Emmanuel Macron. And we are here on Radio Bravery Live to expose the liar for what he is and put our hands together with hopes and prayers that we may see the first woman president ever in France today. So we will see. It's an uphill battle, we definitely know that. But we will take the power back, and we will take the power away from globalists and put it back in the hands of the people. Again, I'm your host, Justin Belshaw, and it is French Election Day. So let's jump into the top headlines. This is from drudgereport.com. Everything on drudgereport.com right now is covering the French election. You can just, if you go right there to drudgereport.com, you can just see all these headlines. Macron emails leak. Media ordered to ignore. Terror fears on election day. Voters receive invalid, damaged Le Pen ballots. Paper, why many French gays adore her. Vote ripples across Europe, markets diplomacy. These are just some of the headlines on drudgereport.com. But let's jump into this article right here. The first one we want to get to. This is from Reuters. France fights to keep Macron email hack from distorting election. Goes on to say, emails posted online just before official campaign ends. Electoral Commission warns republication may be a crime. Polls predict Macron set for comfortable win over Le Pen still. And voting starts in overseas French territories, adds Holland comment, details on security. Goes on to say, France sought to keep a computer hack of frontrunner Emmanuel Macron's campaign emails from influencing the outcome of the presidential election, with the Electoral Commission warning on Saturday that it may be a criminal offense to republish the data. Macron's team said a massive hack had dumped emails, documents, and campaign financing information online just before campaigning ended on Friday, and France entered a quiet period, effectively forbidding politicians from commenting on the leak. Yeah, forbidding politicians who are elected to represent the people on commenting on a gigantic, massive leak and scandal surrounding Emmanuel Macron, the frontrunner for the presidency. But we definitely can't have politicians talking about it or republishing it or looking into it in any way. Put your heads in the sand, France. Put your heads in the sand. Lemmings, do not think for yourself. Do not exit the EU. Do not elect a woman president. Absolutely not. Follow in line, France. Polls have been predicting that Macron, a former investment banker and economy minister, is on course with a comfortable win over far-right leader Marine Le Pen in Sunday's election, with the last surveys showing his lead widening to around 62% to 38%. We knew that this kind of risk would be present during the presidential campaign because it has happened elsewhere. Nothing will be left without a response, says the French President Francois Hollande. Hollande, and goes on to say, basically they're saying nothing will be left without response. Oh, they're gonna go and find the hacker because they do not want Emmanuel Macron's emails getting out. But you know what this is just another example of people not taking globalism. And why are we seeing in this election for the first time ever just people from all fringes, left, right, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning. Why are we seeing all these people now coming from the woodwork and releasing information, hacking these politicians' things because they want to get out the knowledge and the secrecy and expose what's really going on? And it just really speaks to show that the people have had a fucking enough. We're tired of your shit, Emmanuel Macron, and we know that you are a Trojan horse liar. And you are a long-legged Mac Daddy pimp, just like Barack Obama was for this country, as he pimped us out, as he pimped out our economy, bailed out the banks, bailed out the auto industry, bailed out all these failures, and continued to sign things like the National Defense Authorization Act, making it legal, well, not legal, but making it, safe for the government to take U.S. citizens out of the country and detain them indefinitely without a crime. Yeah, thanks, Barack Obama. You did that, you long-legged liar, and that's exactly what Emmanuel Macron is a mirror image of Barack Obama. So I am doing this show today just to shed light on the dirtbags, the cockroaches, because you shed light on them, and what do? They scurry away like the little rats they are. So that's why you see Emmanuel Macron and the French government, the Electoral Commission, coming out and telling all politicians, don't look at these hacked emails. Do not look at it. Don't tell anybody about it. Don't think about it. Oh my gosh, it's just emails. Oh yeah, buddy, we know. We're finding out what kind of dirtbag you really are, Macron. So let's look at this article from the Gateway Pundit. Dirty tricks. French voters receive invalid, damaged Le Pen ballots. And shows here, reports are emerging of torn and therefore invalid Le Pen ballot papers being received by voters ahead of tomorrow's all-important French presidential election. In each case, the ballots of rival candidate Emmanuel Macron are intact. If you go to thegatewaypundit.com and look up this article on their front page, you can see the two ballots right next to each other that they get in the mail, and the Marine Le Pen ballot is ripped all the way up to the name and almost ripped in half, and Emmanuel Macron's is fully intact. And there are numerous, two videos and a picture of different examples of receiving their Le Pen ballot ripped. So it's invalid. They are unable to vote for Le Pen. So this is another dirty, shiesty trick, because globalism only wins and only succeeds through manipulation and deceit. That is the only way globalism ever works. That's the only way we've, continued to have globalist presidents for the last 50 years, is because we've had our heads in the sand and watched it happen. And right now, the French voters need to stand up and realize that when you see one type of ballot being ripped and, tampered with, that is a sure sign of who the underdog is and who the person for the people is, and that is Marine Le Pen. Just look at that other article that I covered a couple of weeks ago. Let's see if I can pull this up. Le Pen. There was that article that I pulled up. Oh yeah, here we go. This is from Zero Hedge broke this, but I'm actually on miloyiannopoulos.net. Report, computer glitch will allow 500,000 largely anti-Le Pen French citizens to vote twice. I don't know if you remember that I covered that a couple weeks ago on Radio Bravery Live, but 500,000 French citizens living outside the country have reportedly received duplicate polling cards, which allow them to vote twice in the first round of the French election on April 23rd. And just so happens, the one area where they got 500,000 extra ballots is a 90% Emmanuel Macron area. Wow. That is unbelievable. And what did the French government say? They said that they might look into it after the election. But, no big deal that he jumped right to the front runnership right after these 500,000 duplicate polling cards. Absolutely fucking ridiculous that this is going on, and we continue to allow the election to go on when there are double votes, there are ripped ballots, dirty tricks left and right. Let's jump into this one. French candidate Macron claims massive hack as emails leaked. Says, let's see, it was, I believe, 9 gigabytes of data that's been leaked. They're clearly looking at charges against the hacker. But listen to this. Russian hand seen. Former economy minister Macron's campaign has previously complained about attempts to hack its emails, blaming Russian interests in part for the cyber attacks. Of course, because the boogeyman is on vacation and the tooth fairy is sleeping right now, so it had to be the Russians. On April 26th, the team said it had been the target of attempts to steal email credentials dating back to January. What the fuck does Russia give a shit about the French presidential election? They have basically nothing to gain. They have no resources that they're holding in France. I mean, it's such a joke. Why would Russia be meddling in everyone else's fucking elections? It's so ridiculous. It's so silly. Vladimir Putin's probably just trying to chill outside and enjoy his 500 football fields of organic food and non-GMO crops that no one else can have. Everyone else got to eat GMO shit, while Vladimir Putin's just over there trying to chill, just trying to eat his organic food, just trying to bring his country back up and make them healthy again. And I really highly doubt, with everything they got going on over there, that he's over here trying to hack the French election too. Hacking the American election. Yeah, I mean, come on. So anyway, goes on to say the Kremlin has denied it was behind any such attacks, really. Even though Macron's camp renewed complaints against Russian media and hackers group operating in Ukraine, Vitaly Kremyaz, director of research with New York-based cyber intelligence firm Flashpoint, told Reuters his review indicates that APT-28, a group tied to the GRU, the Russian Military Intelligence Directorate, was behind the leak. Oh yeah, so a New York-based cyber company decides to step in and tell, the Emmanuel Macron's that, yeah, it's the Russians. Just thank God the U.S. is there to intervene again. Like, just let it go. APT-28 last month registered decoy internet addresses to mimic the name of Enmark, which it likely used sent tainted emails to hack into the campaign's computers, Kremez said. If indeed driven by Moscow, this leak appears to be a significant escalation over the previous Russian operations aimed at the U.S. presidential election, expanding the approach and scope of effort from simple espionage efforts towards more direct attempts to sway the outcome. No, that's bullshit, and I really, 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 really doubt it. And still, we've really, really, really never seen any single bit of proof that the Russians have done anything. So until we do, shut the hell up about Russia. Nobody wants to hear these stupid yarns, these fabrications. It's just a joke. Let's jump into the next article right here from The Independent. Emmanuel Macron hacked emails. French media ordered by Electoral Commission to not publish the content of any messages. It warned news outlets in France that journalists could face criminal charges for publishing or republishing the material. So that's why we don't see too much of what the leaks actually are yet, because the government is out there saying that it's doubt and disinformation and we can't let it affect the campaign. Well, that's the whole point, is for it to affect the campaign, because your candidate is a fucking liar, and your candidate is a fucking manipulator, and he is trying to use you and take over your country silently and stealthily like a Trojan horse. So yes, these leaked emails do matter, and they should affect the election. Moving forward to this one, The Sun. Kill the candidates. ISIS makes sick call for French election day terror attacks and urges lone wolf jihadis to slaughter Le Pen and Macron. This is from the sun.co.uk. Terror fears are growing in France amid revelations ISIS has made a sick call for jihadis to carry out lone wolf attacks. And it just goes to show that Marine Le Pen, the woman who wants to stop these pieces of garbage from coming in and threatening everyone, is on the top of the list for people to be threatened and killed. The chilling call for terror comes as France gears up to vote in the second round of its presidential elections at the weekend. The article reads, "Don't forget your duty as a Muslim. Choose a candidate to kill and polling station to burn." The extremists also urge their supporters to put their faith in Allah over a false deity or Western democracies and tell them to refrain from voting in the coming election. So yeah, open your border, open all your doors, let all the Muslims and all the Islamicists in, because you want to give them democracy and you want to give them freedom and you want to help them. And they, once they get there, are telling everybody, don't fucking vote in the election, don't give anything to Western democracies, kill the candidates, burn the polling stations, don't forget your duty as a Muslim. Yeah, that's what they are going there to do, is to take over. It is not to adjust or adapt to Western culture or to your ideas or to your independence. No, it is to take over and get you to shut the hell up. And that's what ISIS wants, and that's why they are threatening to kill both candidates. So very, very troubling to hear that, and I will continue to jump in on live streams here today if anything happens to occur in the news. But let's just jump into the last article here that I have to cover from the New York Post. Why many French gays adore Marine Le Pen. Goes on to say, as France picks its next president on Sunday, National Front nominee Marine Le Pen, 48, enjoys significant support among an unlikely population, gay voters. According to a survey released Wednesday by Hornet, a gay social network, 36.5% back Le Pen, while 63.5% favor former Socialist Party member and reputed centrist Emmanuel Macron. Among Hornet's young subscribers, 43.5% of 18 to 29-year-olds want Le Pen, and fully 49% of those aged 25. While Le Pen surely would appreciate even higher numbers, pundits are surprised that the so-called far-right candidate does this well with typically left-leaning voters. They say that I believe it's 39 or 30-something% of voters that had switched to Barack Obama in the second election are the actual voters that switched to Trump in the next election. They were just covering that on Infowars.com. But yeah, it just... you do see the constant bleed over of people from the left coming over to vote for anti-globalist people, because I constantly am arguing that Marine Le Pen's party is the nationalist party or whatever, but it's always the argument of the far right. you're so far right. You're so far away from it's the way they word this is making you feel divide from that person and making you feel like that person, that stance is so far away from yours. It's so far away, so clearly different. There's no way that you could unite on that. But what are you finding is more 18 to 29-year-olds who are normally left side voters are coming to the Nationalist Front Party for Marine Le Pen because she doesn't represent the right. She represents independence. She represents freedom, freedom of speech. She represents the people, not globalists, and, represents the average human being rather than a secular government ruling. She doesn't want to be a dictator. She wants to give the power back to the people. And that's why you see people from the left, the right, the north, the south, anywhere, doesn't matter. They're all coming in the middle and uniting against globalism. So, whether it be the Independence Party or the Freedom Party, we need to find some way in the middle to come together and make our own party because, I'm a libertarian. I am not right, I am not left, and I am not conservative. But I have views from every side, and I always will gain views from every side because knowledge is power, and you can't judge one side or the other. You can't be left or right here in America. We are both. We are all, we all have a little bit of each side in us, and we need to recognize that. So the left-right paradigm must fall, and we must elect Marine Le Pen today. This is Radio Bravery Live. I'm coming to an end of this show, this special French election broadcast, and I am going to play a very great video from Paul Joseph Watson breaking down the truth about Emmanuel Macron. But I just want to say, please, everyone, get the best, most positive thoughts you can in your soul and in your mind and in your third eye, in your mind's eye, and open it up. And let's come together and elect the first woman president of France, Marine Le Pen. Let's do this. Tomorrow, we can do this. It's presidential election day in France, and we can get our freedom back. Let's take the power back in France. I would just love so much to see Marine Le Pen elected. And if she isn't, then we must stand behind taking Macron down and exposing him for what he really is. Not playing childish games. We're not going to throw tantrums in the street. We're not going to light things on fire. We're not going to punch people in the face. We're not going to throw Molotov cocktails. We're not going to break windows of buildings. We're not going to stop traffic all over the city. No, we're not going to throw baby tantrums and poop our diapers like the daycare demographic did when Trump was elected. No, we're not going to do that if Le Pen's not elected. We are going to be mature about it, and we're going to teach people, and we're going to spread research, knowledge, and information. And that's how you win the battle here in the world against globalism. So thank you so much for joining me live on Radio Bravery. I'm your host, Justin Belshaw. The websites are youtube.com/Radio Bravery, facebook.com/Radio Bravery, and of course, radiobravery.wixsite.com/news. So now I'm just going to play this amazing video from the journalist who dubbed conservatism is the new counterculture, and one of my favorite journalists from Infowars.com, PJW, Paul Joseph Watson. This is the truth about Emmanuel Macron. Let's see if I can't pull this up right now. Alright, so here is that video from Paul Joseph Watson, the truth about Emmanuel Macron. Vote Le Pen!
investigating whether fake news influenced the election. I agree, it did. But fake news that Macron is a maverick outsider when he's the ultimate establishment insider. They actually conned people into thinking that a bureaucrat from the outgoing socialist government was a populist outsider, an elitist who went to the very French school used by the elite to perpetuate itself, groomed by the establishment, groomed by Hollande, a Rothschild banker, a Bilderberg member, a pet project of the Élysée Palace, who's never been elected to anything in his entire life. If he's an outsider, I'm the frigging Queen of England. CNN said he was defying the mainstream. He is the frigging mainstream. He's been endorsed by every single unelected EU technocrat under the sun. Claiming Macron is an outsider is literally fake news.
The French people have been able to see the real Macron in the second round. The candidate of the elite's mask is slipping.
But hey, at least foreign interests aren't interfering in the French election like the evil Russians did in the US election, right? Wrong.
I am supporting Emmanuel Macron to lead you forward.
Okay, but at least Obama didn't try to hack the French election, right? Wrong again. It was his CIA that hacked Marine Le Pen's campaign back in 2012. Macron and Obama have a lot in common already. For starters, they both love to prosecute journalists. But at least, unlike Brexit and Trump, the French media has been fair and balanced, right? Wrong again. Their tongues couldn't get any deeper down Macron's butt crack. Look at this. Have you ever seen a clearer illustration of partisan bias? Who's voting for this guy? Paris is hit with 6 jihadist attacks in just 3 years, and only 5% of them vote for Le Pen. They might as well wave a white fucking flag. Are these idiots going to be out on the street once again? So-called feminists physically trying to block people from voting for a woman who will be the first female president of France. Yeah, put some clothes on, you're a fucking disgrace. Macron branded 8 million Le Pen voters hateful cowards. They're mostly just a mixture of young people anxious that their economic and cultural future is being stolen, and older folk living out in the rural areas forgotten by the very liberal intelligentsia that Macron represents. Hateful cowards. You're the hateful piece of shit, Macron. You've got the nerve to call Le Pen a fearmonger, while you literally invoke the threat of civil war if people vote for her. Give me a fucking break. No wonder whenever you meet real people outside of your metropolitan elitist bubble, they boo and hiss.
Well, you can hear it. Factory workers whose jobs are under threat booed Mr. Macron.
Oh yeah, and why do you have a grandma for a wife? Is there something you're not telling us about Macron? Is there something the French people deserve to know about? Maybe something other countries could use to blackmail you with. Here's a guy who's so arrogant, he names his party after his own initials. Cult of personality much? But seriously, Macron is just going to be Merkel's bitch.
France will be led by a woman. It'll be either me or Mrs. Merkel. That's the truth.
After all, he's into being all weirdly subservient to older women. Macron's already signified he'll scheme with her to try to block Brexit. He wants to put sanctions on Poland just because they refuse to have their sovereignty eviscerated by the EU. This effete manlet may look like a complete pussy, but in reality, he's a nasty little globalist. His solution to France's anemic economy is green energy. Green energy, the very stupid idea that wrecked Spain's economy. If the polls are right for a change and Macron does win, France's submission to Islamism will accelerate. 6 months after a Muslim migrant killed 86 people in Nice, this twat celebrated the policy of welcoming Muslim migrants. Mark my words, if this guy gets in, major cities in France will be unrecognisable in 5 years. Parts of some already are, and by that point it may be too late even for Marine Le Pen to rescue the situation. It may be death by 1,000 cuts, but the end result is the same. A vote for Macron is a vote for national suicide.
That was Paul Joseph Watson.
What could be more triggering to libtards than my
That was the truth about Emmanuel Macron. Thank you so much for joining me live on Radio Bravery, youtube.com/Radio Bravery. I'll see you again soon. Thanks.
At InfoWarsStore.com.